welcome back to another episode of the Meet Dave podcast. I'm Dave Williamson. Thank you to everyone who's come out to shows recently. I appreciate it. I'm going to Florida this week, back to the roots, with my podcast partner from my other podcast, The Mermen. And we're going to do a co-headlining tour through Key West, Miami, and Dania on Sunday night at the Dania Improv. Go to davewilliamson.com to check out tour tickets. Got a lot of other dates coming up. I'm going to be in Boise. And there's going to be a barbecue collab event with that Luis too. So I'm doing shows in Boise. We're going to do some barbecue collab at those comedy shows. I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be in Tracy, California. I'm going to be in Winnipeg, which normally I do a barbecue collab at, but it's going to be December. I think it's going to be too cold. DaveWilliamson.com for all the tour dates. Buy the Meet Dave Rub. I'm really excited for today's guest. I met her at Memphis in May. She's a joy to talk to, a lot of fun, has a lot of interesting things going on with her content. I think you guys are going to really enjoy her. I'm going to give her plugs up front here. Grillgirl.com is the website. You can go and see what she's got going on. And at GrillGirlRobyn is the Instagram handle. Robyn is spelled with a Y. Please meet Robyn Lindars. Well, I met you at Memphis in May, and you were cooking with The Shed, right? Where you were with The Shed that weekend.
Yeah.
And who are you going to the Royal with?
The Shed.
You're going to go with them?
They're
again?
my people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you cook with them a lot?
Yeah, I'm on the team. I'm really like Brooke's sidekick, honestly. I'm like her. I'm there just to goof off with her, honestly. I mean, they're my people. So, yeah, it's a blast.
Well, those are good people to have as your people, man. They're the most fun, and they're so sweet, and they're really badass at cooking food.
They're honestly the best. Like, I would take a bullet for anyone on the team. Like, they're the best, and I've known them a long time. So, just hanging out with everyone there is, like, really what it's all about. I mean, obviously, we hope we'll win, but, like, just the experience, you know?
Yeah. And you're based in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah.
So they're up in Mississippi, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in Ocean Springs.
Do you make it up to the actual Shed very often?
So we they do the Shed Steak Showdown, and it is like just the most fun as far as like barbecue steak competitions go.
Yeah.
You know, there's barbecue competitions, and then there's steak competitions. And truthfully, I like steak competitions better because I just think they're different and more fun, and the barrier to entry is lower because you're there to cook steak, not like a KCBS where you get like all these different turn-ins, even though the steak world has turned kind of into KCBS because now they've tacked on all these other categories. But I digress. But so they host their own steak, like their own SCA event. And it's just at the Shed. It's so much fun because they know how to put on such a kick-ass party. And so, and now they have a campground that adjoins their restaurant. And they also have a blues bar like built into their restaurant. So it's just like a really amazing place to have a competition. And just because it's the Shed, it's so much fun. So I've been doing that, like, I guess since the first one was like in 2018 or 19. And then one year, my kid, I had him enter like a few years ago, and he did really well in like the kids competition. So it's kind of like turned into like a family affair, because that's kind of how I got into competition barbecue, is like through my blog. My dad and I ended up being on a team at Memphis in May, and it was kind of like our father-daughter bonding thing we would do. Would be
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. And it kills me now because he has like knee problems and he doesn't want to do Memphis anymore because, you know, part of the thing in Memphis is you have to walk down to the river.
So much walking.
Like,
so much walking.
There's so much walking, right? Like, so if your knees are bothering you, I mean, even if you're in like the best condition ever, it's tough. But you wonder how all those fat guys get around, because like it's not the model of health at that competition. I'll just say that.
Yeah. No, I was tired and my knees hurt this past year, and I'm an elite athlete, so I can only imagine.
Exactly. So there you go. So that's sort of, that as a segue, that is how I got to know Brad and Brooke. Was just, I started doing Memphis in May with my dad on the 2 Sauce to Pork team, which is like back in the day, which is kind of like the Animal House of the teams, you know, like in Memphis. And then we just got to be friends through that. And then eventually I just join their team because I would just spend all my time with them anyway because we've just gotten to be so close.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Well, that's what it's about, right? Is hanging out with people and cooking together. And, like you said, the winning is nice and that's the goal. But, there's a lot to be said with cooking with people you want to cook with and spending all that time with people you want to spend time. At the Key West event that I just went to that you were messaging and saying, oh, I'm so jealous. I wanted to go, and you had some conflicts. You couldn't go. But
I really wanted to be there. I really did.
Yeah.
It was my kid's first day of third grade, and I just felt bad missing it. You know?
No, I get that. Well, I brought my 13-year-old with me, so just like you cooking with your dad, it was really cool to bring him with me and make him part of the team, and that was awesome.
That is so cool. Well, I think that's so important, right? Is like cooking with your kid and just like getting them involved, because I know I'd much rather have my kid learning how to grill a steak or whatever than just playing Roblox or Minecraft on his phone all day long.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's I've said it before on this podcast that my older son's really into sport and has been since he was a little kid. And when they're younger, especially, like you're looking for things to connect with them on, So my older son, it was always sports. And my younger son, from a young age, he liked cooking and he liked eating good food, man. So
That's so cool.
When he was a little kid, we put him into baking classes, and then he'd help me on the grill. And, my older son would be like, Dad, make me hot dogs. My younger son would be like, hey, what's up with those beef ribs you're making, So I keep talking to people about, it keeps coming up on here in different episodes about the SEA events. And I've had Brett on the podcast before from SEA. And I got to lean into that, man. I got to go check that out. I think there's some real opportunity for me to do some cool stuff with them.
Maybe we should do a cook together. We could just make it humorous because, there's always like the people that are on the circuit and they do it all the time. And like, to win, I'm not saying you can't go out and win, but like, I think SCA has gotten to the point where like the people that are doing it, like they're on it, right? Like you do it all the time. You've got your technique down. I do it like very infrequently, like once or twice a year. Yeah. And, so it's like, it's a bonus if I do well. I'm not expecting to do well because these people have honed their craft. But honestly, it's just so much fun because it's like, unlike barbecue, right? Like where you see all these people pulling up big rigs and the barrier to entry is so high. And the steak has gotten more like that, but it's still like you can go find like a local competition. There was one in Florida and like BFE. I had never even heard of this town. You know what I mean? And I went and did with my dad, and we like, you set up your tent and you cook, and it's a good time. And it's just like, I think that's what it should be all about. Like it shouldn't cost you $5,000 to go compete for a weekend.
Yeah, totally. And at the end of the day, you get to eat some good steak.
Yes, that's what it's about. Like I'm all about the steak. Give me the steak.
I'm totally on board with the idea of just having fun with it and going for it and letting the chips fall where they are. But I do want to say at the aforementioned competition there at Key West, Team Meet Dave did win the judges' blind taste test on ribeye. So,
yes.
So I think we got a shot.
How did you cook it? Like, what'd you do?
So I had a feeling.
Can you share your secrets or you might have to kill me?
No, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm never going to do that well at a competition ever again. So I'm going to brag and talk about it as much as I can.
Love it.
So I just had a feeling all these guys that were there, like, dudes I look up to and my barbecue heroes and guys who have won competitions and stuff. Right. So, we decided we're going to get real creative with everything. And that was our best bet. And so, the steak, we did a reverse sear, very simple ribeye, on the big green egg. And I had a feeling a lot of these dudes were going to use chimichurri because Alfregoni was there. And and I was like, I bet a lot of these guys are going to do chimichurri on their steak. So I did a little bit of a local twist. And anyone who lives in Florida is aware of the legend of Publix subs.
Yes.
So I went and got some sub dressing, which is essentially the same thing. It's, oil and vinegar and some herbs and spices, And I used Alfregoni's chimichurri with the Publix sub sauce to make my chimichurri. And then we did we dressed it up with a bed of gourmet mushrooms and sauteed onions. So we did a little onions and mushrooms around the outside. We did the ribeye slices right down the middle, and then a little chimichurri across the top.
Nice. I love it. And yes, the pub dressing is amazing. And like there's accounts out here or in Florida that have like they have a cult following and all they do is make jokes about Florida and it always has a Publix reference. Like, always.
Every
but
time.
it is like there's a comedian named OMG It's Wicks and his whole shtick is Florida humor. I don't know if you've heard of him. And but like every shot he's in is like he's holding a Publix sub or like a Publix tray of like chicken nuggets or banana pudding or whatever. But it's usually like Publix chicken or whatever. But like, yeah, that's brilliant that you put a Florida spin on it. Who was on your team, by the way?
So it was me. It was Jody from RecTech. Jody's one of the main dudes over there at RecTech. He's a great guy.
I know Jody. And
then Roy Bellamy is one of the producers on the Dan Le Batard show. So he's a big barbecue fan. He talks about barbecue. He cooks barbecue in his backyard. And I just knew he'd probably never been to anything like this before. And he's always been a nice dude. So I had the spot on my team and I was like, I hit him up out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in years. And I'm like, Roy, do you want to come cook with us? And he was all in. And then my son was a little bit of an assistant there. My son was an apprentice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I wonder if my son would be too young to take next year. He'll be 9 or he'll almost be 9 next year.
No, it's the perfect thing to bring your family to because it's all at a resort. So there's like paddleboarding and the pool and like there's totally, they could just pop down and be around the cooking for a little bit. And if they want to go swim in the pool, they can take off. Like,
I think that's what I'll do. Yeah, for sure.
It's the perfect event to bring your family to, honestly.
Now I know. You guys could like work the kinks out. And now I know. Plus, my kid's a Florida kid. Like he does all the things, so he'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I also entered the belly flop contest. A lot of people said that I was robbed by getting second place, but I may or may not have been in an American Eagle Speedo. So you might want to avert your children's eyes during that. It's a little aggressive.
Is that on social media?
Yeah, I put a reel up. There's a reel on my Instagram.
Oh my God! Well, who won then? If you didn't win, who won?
I don't remember his name, but it was a big dude. I think they were really going for style. They were going more for the technique than they were for the style points.
Right. Because you're not as big as some of those big dudes. So they might have just won just by sheer water displacement, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm an elite athlete. I'm just not big enough for that,
I love it. Great.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, you brought up the vlog before and that's kind of where all this stemmed from you. I'm assuming, right? Is you started grillgirl.com. And tell me about that, about how that started and just that journey to where you are now.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy journey. And honestly, it started like in 2008 on like a bottle of Pinot Grigio and a whim, to be honest.
Most dreams are, yeah.
Right.
Speaking of American dreams.
Right. I have always loved to cook. I'm from the South, actually. I'm not from Florida, but I've lived here since about 2007. And I do consider it my spirit animal state because, let's be honest, they accept the crazy people with open arms, and I feel like they really embrace me. So I had always loved to cook, and one night, now he's my husband, he's my boyfriend, or he was my boyfriend at the time. I went to go use his grill, and I pretty much just like singed my eyebrows off, and I was like, I can't believe that just happened, And I had grilled like occasionally. But I think like most women at the time, there was always like a man in their life that they just let do all the grilling. And at that point, I bought him at the time it was a Weber Genesis. It was like an $800 grill for me as a girl in my late 20s. At the time, I was like, that's a lot of money. I want to get my money's worth. And then I just, out of practicality, fell in love with grilling. And then I was like, why are more chicks not grilling? Like, what a missed opportunity, First of all, it creates a lot less dishes. And I think that's like a part that nobody ever talks about. Like, you know what I mean? Think about when you cook like pasta in your kitchen.
Yeah,
you
pots
got like
and pans everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, damn, I can't believe I just created so many dishes. And then like, when you grill, there's just so much less of that. And I had just moved to South Florida and I was just loving being there and just like being in the tropics. And I had like, parrots on my power lines when I'd be outside. I mean, you're from Miami.
Yeah.
I was in Hollywood, which is the Hollywood of Florida, which many people call Holly Weird. So, because it is quite unique, we will, and I lived there for a while until, I bet one day I had my baby stroller stolen off my front porch, and I was like, is this really where I want to raise kids, But, so now I live
Good thing
on the
your
other
baby wasn't in it.
right? I know it was probably some homeless person pushing it down the beach because baby strollers, they're second best to like a shopping cart, right? To lug all your stuff. But so from there, Grill Girl kind of morphed into like, it was a blog when blogging was a thing. This was before Instagram. And I always say like, gosh, if I had started now, I wouldn't have the website. The website's like a whole nother layer of things, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone puts everything on Instagram now. Now I'm like, I need to SEO this website and have a whole content plan around it and blah, 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 but no. And so it just opened up a lot of doors for me. And I, from there, I started doing competition barbecue with my dad because he was into grilling and he had gotten into grilling. And so it kind of became like a father-daughter bonding thing. And then, in the early stages, I had done some fun stuff. Like I was on like the first Grill Master series of Chopped. And literally I was like so green in my grilling, but that was like the series they had. This makes me sound super old. So for the record, I am 29 and holding. And then like the Cooking Channel did this show on me back when they had Mo Roca, if you remember him. And it was called, it was like a food documentary about like grilling and like kind of the morphing of grilling, right? And like where it started from and where it was going, because I also started doing women's grilling clinics. And this is something that's like near and dear to my heart because I think that's something that is still something I need to lean into more. It is just still empowering women to grill, because I think in today's day and age, like especially like you and me, Dave, like we're dorking out and in our feed, you just probably see meat and smoked meat and yada, yada, yada in your feed. And you probably see lots of chicks. But when you meet the average chick on the street, they're not grilling stuff. They're still weirded out about grilling. You know what I mean? Like I met a lady in church the other night and she's like, I've been thinking about getting a pellet grill. And like, people always ask me what kind of grill should I buy, of course. And she's like, I'm still afraid to start a grill. And like, that's what I found. Like, because I started hosting these women's grilling clinics, is like a big barrier to entry is what happened to me is like the flame ball effect. Like a lot of people have these crappy, like a charbroil, like, a $300 grill they bought at Home Depot that's rusted out from last season, that doesn't work that well, that probably doesn't have the gas starter that works anymore. So when you finally get it to light, which may or may not light, you may get a flame ball effect, or you know what I mean? Like, or women are intimidated by the messiness and unpredictability of like charcoal, which is like the next layer, right? So, which I truthfully think that's why pellet smoking has been really, really a big deal for women, because it is like an outdoor oven. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. That's exactly what it is, which is the beauty of it. It's easy. It takes away all of those barriers to entry, having to deal with fire, the messiness of charcoal, and if you look at a lot of women on social, that was, I call it the gateway grill. Like mine was a gas grill. Their gateway grill was a pellet smoker. It was probably their husband's Traeger or whatnot, and now there's more options in the market. But so that's kind of still where I'm trying to lean into, is empowering more women to grill. Like, like I want to just show women that you can grill anything. It doesn't have to be meat. You can grill lettuce and it's delicious. You can add smoke flavor to cocktails, so like if you're the hostess with the mostest, why limit yourself to just your kitchen? Why not like take that outside and, and embrace being like living your best outdoor life, if you will.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it morphed, but it's been fun. It's opened up a lot of opportunities, and I've done some fun stuff. I did the Today Show back in the day when they still had Matt Lauer.
Ooh.
Yeah. And, but now I'm kind of I'm in a like new chapter of my life where we moved from Hollywood, right? Which is South Florida, is like, I was basically North Miami. And we moved out to the country. We bought like 30 acres out in VFE. And now I'm like a city girl living a country girl life, like, now I have chickens and ducks, and maybe one day we'll get a cow. I don't know if I'm ready yet, but like my kid's doing 4-H, and I'm learning about I'm toying with the idea of like learning about animal husbandry and like, you know, all the things. Like it's crazy, right? Like I'm still sometimes I literally feel like Ava Gabor in Green Acres, right? Like, because my husband was out of town this week, so I had to prep for the hurricane myself, which is totally fine. But then there's like another layer of country life that you don't know when you move, right? Like they don't deliver the mail to your house. You have to drive to like a clump of mailboxes like down the road, you know? And so then that's a pain. But then they also don't pick up the trash at your house. So you got to put the trash in the back of your truck or whatever and like drive it, you know? And so like, of course, my ATV wouldn't start last night. And I was like, how am I going to take the trash out? So I call my neighbor. He comes over, he's all sweaty and hot. And he's like, sorry, I was just castrating some cows. Literally, he had just castrated his cows. And I was like, oh, that's what you got to do if you have cows on. Like, here I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I had cows? Like, that would be so cool, right? And I was like, I am not castrating cows, Dave. I just don't see that happening for me.
Just a nice little Thursday, you know? Just an everyday Thursday.
Right? Like, that's why I was like, I can't believe this is my life right now. Like, you know, like, but that, I mean, it makes sense. Like, if your cow's interbreed, he's like, I can't have my cow, you know, mating with his sister. And I was like, yeah, well, that makes sense. Interbreeding is a bad idea. So I get that. And now I can't imagine being like, honey, make sure to put it on your Outlook calendar that you're going to need to go castrate the cows.
Yeah. We got to make sure these cows are having incestual safe sex.
Anyway,
that'd be funny.
That's my life now.
I was just saying that'd be funny if you were running one of those women's grilling clinics and you got all these women to sign up and come and they thought it was going to be about empowerment. And then you were just like, all right, stay away from the grill. Okay. You guys go make some sides and I'm going to be out here grilling the meat.
Right. And then we're going to have cow castrating demonstration, just so you know, because we're going to do like true field to table beef today, you know, or whatever. No, I know it's interesting. It's interesting, but that is, so the women's grilling clinic. So, you know, Brooke, Brooke's on the shed with me. I'm the queen of getting off the subject, but I will bring it back, Dave.
I like
it. So what I did last year was I rebooted it in a big way. Was I did it like almost like speed dating for learning about grills, right? And so like, and I brought Brooke in. I brought Erica Roby from, you may know her, Blue Smoke Blair on Instagram. She won Master of Q or whatever that show is. And then I brought Sunny Lynn. She used to be Sunny Mooney. Now she's Sunny Lynn. And she's like the world champion steak cook-off. So I had her doing steak demonstrations. I had Brooke on the Loco cookers. I did the gas grill myself. I have my friend Amy, who's also on the shed team with me, managing the pizza station. I mean, we grilled all the things, right?
That's
and
awesome.
So it was cool. And I did wine pairings. And then the next day, actually, for everyone that came in out of town and I actually had the W sauce, I cannot speak, the W sauce sponsor it. I did a Bloody Mary goat yoga brunch, which was actually, that was the most fun part, because who doesn't want to make Bloody Marys and go do yoga with goats? And so I really blew it out. And so I'm going to do another one of those in February. I think it's smart to do it outside of hurricane season, because I learned my lesson from last year. And literally I had done all this planning and then Ian hit. And literally there was nowhere to stay for anyone because everyone got flooded and was homeless. And so I'm going to do it in February of next year. And I'm just still kind of working the kinks out of like kind of the new rebooted way. And so, yeah, if anyone on the show wants to be a sponsor, it was a great time and it's a great cause. And I think there's still so much opportunity. Like, my background's in marketing. Before I did Grill Girl full time, I was always in sales and marketing. And, you know, like, I just think of like, if you're a marketer for a grill company, why would you not speak to that other 50% that's like your untapped market, right? You know, like, let's just say your market is saturated with dudes who may already own at least a grill, right? But then there's this whole other demographic with a ton of buying and purchasing power that you don't ever speak to. Like, I'll give everyone listening to this a challenge. Just go on and look for stock photos of women grilling, and you cannot find it. Like, if I ever want to look for one grilling other than myself, you cannot, they do not exist. Yeah. It's just weird. Like, anyway, so I digress. So that's next February will be the reboot of that. And I may do the Bloody Mary goat yoga again. Like, it was pretty epic. Yeah. It was a lot to plan, but it was really cool.
It would be smart for companies to lead into that too, because women like to shop. So I'm kidding. I
do love to shop. Like, who doesn't, right? Like, I mean, yeah. Send me to Costco. I mean, I don't know anyone that can go to Costco and not spend $200 just accidentally.
I know. Right? I know I'm a dad now because I go to Costco to buy food and I end up shopping for clothes. And I'm just like, I really like the clothes. They have a Costco now.
They do. I know it's sad, right? But you're like, I really like these joggers. And I'm like sending my husband pictures like, do you like these? These are kind of cute, right? Like, so no, I get it. I'm that person. So I don't know what that says about me, but I just was talking about cow castration. So there we are.
Well, so speaking of being a Florida girl and being a country girl now, I saw recently that you cooked something pretty interesting in Super Florida on your Instagram. Yeah. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. So let's talk about iguana, chicken of the tree. And Dave, this has like a long history. And if there's ever like an iguana board, I should be on their ambassador, right? And I know everyone thinks I'm batshit crazy for talking about this, or they're like, ew, you know? But like about 4 years ago, randomly, I posted like a joke as like on my story on Instagram. And I just made a joke about like hashtag Florida life, you know, because my best girlfriend in Fort Lauderdale is always shooting iguanas in her backyard with a pellet gun, you know, and people don't realize that that's like super duper common because they're invasive and they've gotten out of control.
Like even when I was there, we'd see an iguana every now and then, but now you go down there and there's just swarms of them. They've taken over.
Just like all the stuff that's invasive in Florida, right? Like look at the pythons, the stuff it just goes insane. Or the lionfish, which was released into the ocean in the 80s, and now they've found it all the way up to Maine, and it's a major problem. So anyway, iguanas aren't a major problem, but they're definitely a nuisance. And so the story how this went down was I posted something on my story, just making a joke about it. And because honestly, the stuff that happens in Florida is just so bizarre sometimes anyway, right? Like that video I sent you of that guy who got drunk and brought that alligator into the beer cooler with him.
Who hasn't done that, you know?
So anyway, so I posted a joke about it. And then one of my followers from Latin America was like, oh, well, iguana's delicious. And I'm like, what? Record scratch, like what? And then, and I'm like, really? And then I kind of researched it a little bit. And so like in parts of South America, iguana is like a delicacy and it has the name chicken of the tree. And, in South America, they make like a coconut broth based like stew with it. And so this light bulb went off in my head because the other thing people don't realize is like, my husband, I always joke that I married like a New Jersey redneck. I didn't even know. I've been trying my whole life not to marry a redneck. And then I married this guy from New Jersey who's like a redneck. Like he works in tech by day and is like an aspiring taxidermist by night. So anyway, and I'm not joking. Like he jokes all the time. Like maybe I should just become a taxidermist. I'm like, well, you know, babe, if that's what you want to do. So anyway, being married to a hunter, I'm always like, we're not trophy hunting. Like we don't shoot animals just to shoot them. Like if you shoot anything, it's to eat it. You know what I mean? So all these people in Florida, they literally just shoot these iguanas and throw them in the trash. Like some people have a dedicated trash can just for throwing away iguanas. Or they put them in the freezer. I've learned from people based on my own research of what people tell me on Instagram. I know it sounds crazy. And so, and they have people that like, that's what they do is just their full-time job is iguana and invasive species remediation because they're so they're everywhere, right?
Murderers,
and so I had the idea. So I ended up getting an iguana and I fried it up for the first time and I made tacos out of it. And I was like, damn if this is not delicious, right? Like I just wanted to try it because there's this meat that everyone's throwing in their trash, and out of just wanting to be resourceful, not wasteful, I wanted to see what it tasted like. And it really is delicious. So I did some videos with Ron, Captain Ron.
Yep.
Captain Ron is like my bestie, and Captain Ron is also my Big Green Egg contributor on my website. Like he does, I have a lot of specifically Big Green Egg content on my website. And so I call him my expert, and I know a lot too, but I have him, that's all he does for me on my site is just content for that. So anyway, we were going to do some recipes for Loco, and I said, let's do iguana just to see. I was thinking it would get a lot of eyeballs because people would be interested, but it might have been like, people are like, that's weird. I don't know. but just to bring attention to it. So I was looking for an iguana because where we live, I don't have a lot of iguanas because I'm in the country in Fort Myers, and they're not everywhere like they are in South Florida. We have bobcats and pumas and not pumas, panthers and other things. But so my husband's like, why don't you put up a post on this Facebook group that his friend's the moderator of? And it literally was like the Florida invasive species and hunting page or whatever that his friend named Quackskins runs, right? So it was in my hunting circle. It was like all my worlds are colliding. And so then Raj, the iguana hunter from Fort Lauderdale, reaches out to me and he's like, I can get you an iguana. And so
I got, how many do you need? I'll bring you 30.
Right. So I'm like, great. So then I got the iguana from Raj, the iguana hunter, and he gave the iguana to Ron, who brought it over, and we cooked it. And then I did a meetup with Al, and I invited Raj, and we cooked it there too, because I'm like, what the hell, right? Like, why not try something different? Like, I see all these meetups that people do, and they're like, oh, we got a mountain lion, and we cooked that, and we had a, you know what I mean? Like, where they'll do like a whole animal, and I'm like, well, shit, let's throw chicken of the tree into the mix too, right? Like, why not? So, but yeah, I wasn't trying to be known as that crazy girl that cooks weird stuff, but I don't know, out of just curiosity, it's kind of morphed into that. You know what I mean? I also have a YouTube video on how to cook alligator, that's done well because I was like, you know what? I'm in Florida. I'll be damned if Malcolm Reed is going to beat me on YouTube for alligator when I have them in the river behind my house.
In your backyard, yeah.
And that is actually how I got the alligator. I was living on the Caloosahatchee, and I was smoking a tri-tip one day, and I swear this gator was attracted to the smoke or whatever, and it came up the canal because I lived where the river and the canal met, so I was bordered by water on three sides. And at the time, I had an old Chihuahua with cataracts, and I was so afraid that she was going to get eaten by an alligator, which I think is I don't think I'm crazy, and that could happen, Yeah,
so that's a rational fear in Florida for sure.
It totally happens all the time. And so I called we have here, as you know, this will sound crazy to non-Floridians, but we have a nuisance gator hotline. And so I called the nuisance gator hotline. They come and he brings a CD player, and it plays the sounds that a gator makes, which is a meh, 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 or whatever to draw them out. He could never draw the gator out. But what came out of that relationship was that he also worked for a gator farm. So when I went to go smoke a gator, I just called Tracy the alligator catcher, and he's like, cool. And so he's like, I got one for you, And so I know I'm giving you all the Florida stories.
It's such a Florida thing where everyone has a title as their name too. The Florida catcher and, Bobby the iguana hunter. And everyone in my childhood was that we had Ray the painter. And if you needed your house paint, you called Ray the painter. And we had Steve the tree guy. When the hurricanes were coming, you called Steve the tree guy. He came and trimmed your palm trees. It's we had all those guys.
Exactly. And so when I needed a gator, because I was smoking one on at the time, my Green Mountain Grill, I did a video for them, how to smoke a gator on the Green Mountain Grill. And so he got me a gator. And when of course, my power goes out because it was probably hurricane season. It was raining. And that totally messed up my cook. It was a real pain in the ass because that's the downside of a pellet smoker is that they need electricity, unfortunately. And so then I went to go do another cook. And so I called Tracy, who also happened to be a preacher. So he was like, Tracy, the gator catcher / preacher. I'm like, I need another alligator. And he's like, well, Robyn, you're in luck. I have a fresh one for you. And this gator had been living under this lady's drainage ditch underneath her driveway. And every time the mailman went to go deliver the mail, this gator would pop his head out. And that is how he met his demise on my smoker.
Well, I mean, gator's becoming a real popular thing now. Everyone's doing it. You're right. It's a thing. I think the iguana's definitely more unique. And when you're gonna cook an iguana, because I know there's I don't know if it's male or female, but they obviously look different. I don't know if there's different skews of the species or something, but sometimes you'll see some that are big dinosaur looking. Other ones are but is there a difference between which one you get? And do you have to worry about them being safe to eat? Because I don't know, they just seem dirty to me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you want the ones, there's two types. One, you want the herbivore. You want the one that only eats plants, I believe, and not the omnivore.
Okay.
That's what they told me. So there are two types in South Florida, and I can't remember the species name. It's escaping my brain. But that's what you want to be careful with. So you want the one that eats plants. Okay. And that's how you know.
And so just to wrap up the alligator thing too, the thing that's interesting about alligators, the texture is really nice and enjoyable and good, but there's not a lot of natural flavor to the meat. So it is a really white meat though. So whatever you use to flavor it with, I've learned it really accepts that flavor. And totally. And it's that's kind of a big key to it.
You got to brine it, first of all, just to retain the moisture. And I think what people don't realize, most people who have ever had gator, they've only ever had it fried and it's chewy, right? Usually weird meat, you're like, let's just fry it, right? Which is what I did with iguana. But actually iguana is actually, for the record, tastier than iguana. I mean, iguana is tastier than alligator, excuse me, in my opinion. It's a more delicate meat. It actually does taste a lot more like chicken. To me, alligator tastes like a cross between chicken and fish. But for gator, for what I've found is that if you brine it, and then when you do smoke it, just keep it moist. Moisture is your friend. Wrap the whole thing in bacon, and just like you would do ribs, spritz it. Butter and bacon are your friend. And if you do that, the end result is actually, and it sounds crazy, but if you look at my video, you can see what I'm talking about. It's more like pulled pork. It sounds crazy, but the flavor is like that profile from the smoke and the moisture, and also the bacon fat, probably from putting so much bacon on it. You can get a texture that's very similar to a pulled pork, and you can actually pull the meat off the tail. I mean, at least when I smoked it, the last time I smoked it, that's really the result I got. And of course I made tacos out of it. Just like you would have a pig picking and you and you've got all this meat. I feel like tacos are the perfect thing. Put all your toppings out and let everyone kind of dress it how they want, and make it a taco bar. And it's kind of fun because you've got a big pile of meat and then all the toppings, and then let everyone go to town.
I like it.
I mean, I love tacos, right?
Yeah. And I'm guessing you would use your Sunshine State of Mind rub in that regard.
I did use my rub. I need to send you some, Dave. This was my brainchild.
I'll switch with you. You send me that. I'll send you this. We'll swap.
Oh, let's swap. Yeah. Let's swap. I totally want to try yours. Mine is it's a kaffir lime base. It's very different and unique. And believe it or not, I actually developed it for seafood on a whim, but then I discovered actually it's perfect on chicken. It's great on pork. It's even good on steak because it adds an Asian profile because it has a citrus base with granulated honey and Himalayan salt. But kaffir lime, I have not seen anyone using kaffir lime because it's a very expensive ingredient. So probably that's why people don't use it, but it's just very different. And so, you can even probably just add coconut milk and make it a curry. Honestly, like it's Floridian. If most people don't are like, what does that mean? But it tastes like Florida. Yeah. Really, it's like a trip to Florida. So I will send you the rub because you can use it on a margarita, so it has dual purposes.
Yeah.
And I want to try yours. Yeah. How should I try? What should I use yours on? Tell me about yours.
So mine, I made when we were traveling in the tour bus, especially during the pandemic. We were doing drive-in movie theaters. And so we were cooking a lot along the way because a lot of restaurants weren't even open yet, right? We were touring like in the heart of the pandemic, doing these drive-in movie theaters where people could stay safe in their cars and stuff. And so I had a travel smoker and I was just cooking for the whole crew like the whole time, right? And so whereas normally when we would do shorter trips, I would bring a ton of rubs with me. I was like, we don't have the space. I need to make a rub that I could just put on everything. Not just not just as a rub, but like even just as a seasoning. If I'm doing steaks, I need to sprinkle it on there. If we're doing eggs, I need to sprinkle it on there. If I'm doing a brisket, I need to be able to put it as. So this was kind of the recipe I came up with. And actually, it's got a little kick to it. It's got red pepper flakes in there. So when I go work comedy clubs, I'll give them a bottle and they put a spicy margarita and they salt the rim with it. And they do a little Meat Dave special. I love like what you're talking about.
We're twinning.
Yeah.
We're twinning.
And the W sauce guys have totally talked to me about doing like a little Bloody Mary action with it and stuff too. So there's definitely a lot of crossover I see with your line of thought.
I love it. Great minds, right? Like we think alike, but I can't wait to try it.
Well, I got to tell you this too. Your label is obviously very Florida-esque. It's very, it encapsulates the whole, name Sunshine State. And my original label was very tropical as well. I toned it down a little bit. This is the redesign, but I still have little palm fronds on the back that are in there. And the main accents are pink. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, what's the expression? You can take a guy out of Florida, but you can't take the Florida out of the guy.
Oh yeah.
Or gal.
No. Florida leaves its mark on you. That is for sure.
I love it. I'm curious, Dave, like, what are you cooking on? Like, what's your go-to? And I've watched your feed and all, but like, what are your like top 3 grills to cook on?
Well, so Rectech's been really cool to me and I've gotten to try a lot of their different smokers, and especially for traveling, their little Trailblazer travel smoker was like, I cooked on that a ton because I could take it on the road with me. And then my first, I'm going to give you way more of an answer than you asked for.
No, I want to hear it. I want to hear it all.
Well, so here was my progression. I enjoyed listening when you were talking about yours a little bit, and it reminded me when you were talking about like the gateway grills,
Yeah.
So when I decided I wanted to learn, I went to Home Depot and just bought this piece of crap $90 smoker that was on sale, offset. I couldn't figure it out. Like, the seams it was just, I wouldn't hold temp. I didn't know where to put the charcoal. I was putting wood chips into the main chamber. Like I didn't even know what I was doing at all. Right. And then one of my neighbors was selling a master built digital smokehouse. And I go, that looks a lot easier. They're like, do you want it for $50? I go, let me just mess around with it. So then
was it an electric smoker? Like an electric smoker?
Just those little mini fridge looking, digital smokers.
I wrote my cookbook on that, on electric smoking. Yeah. That's so funny. I love it.
And then I started slowly making good food. And I was like, so once I got that, I went back to trying to figure out live fire. And I actually graduated very quickly up to the gigantic gravity fed smoker.
Wow.
And then now I have a really nice custom welded offset that this company SG Metalworks out here in LA helped me with. It's very Miami. It's bright blue.
Nice.
It looks like Miami Vice. So I cook on that. I cook on my pellet smokers. I love cooking on a big giant cast iron skillet. I'm dying to get a griddle. I need to work Loco and see if I can get a deal on a big griddle.
I know people. Maybe they should send you one.
Yeah, I would love to have a griddle. That's the one thing I'm missing right now. I just got a Big Green Egg Mini Max. And so I have a lot of options when I'm ready to cook, and
I love it.
It's funny. I think it's funny people argue about what's better, because for me, it's like there's such different tools for different situations. Like if I don't have anything going on the weekend and we're going to eat dinner, so it's not like I have to start cooking the night before, then there's nothing more fun than cooking on my offset smoker and watching the fire and tending to it and, you know, and just being there.
Yeah.
And then if I have to cook like for an event and it's got to be done at a certain time and I have a show that night and I also want to get some sleep, I mean, you can't beat a pellet smoker. I mean, it's just, it makes it so easy and so worry free, you know? And, you know, now I just got a pizza oven too. And it's so funny because you start getting cocky on the things that you've been cooking on for a long time. And then I get the pizza oven and I'm like, how hard can it be? It's just starting a fire inside the pizza oven. And I'm having the hardest time getting a good fire going in there. And so now it's kind of fun to start over and learn something and be a rookie at something, you know?
Right. Which pizza oven did you get? Is it the Gosney or what?
No, it's a, wait, I always mispronounce it. And hold on.
Pizza ovens are so big right now, and I've used a lot of pretty crappy ones. So, I mean, I've used some, you know, but that would probably be my next. Not that I can't make egg on the not that I can't make a pizza on the egg, but like having a dedicated pizza oven. Even though I don't eat a ton of pizza because I'm kind of a carnivore in my diet. Like I eat a lot of meat and maybe some fruit and vegetables thrown in.
The pizza ovens have been fun because a lot of people are into them, and so I've been able to source my neighbors' expertise too, because between all like we started calling my house the compound because like all my neighbors just come over and hang out in my yard, and we cook barbecue, and I have a big TV up in my yard, and we just watch TV out there and hang out in the fire pit, and so everyone kind of just hangs out. Oh no, the compound I think is what he was the compound.
That's awesome.
So it's funny because like I have one neighbor on this side and one neighbor on this side that are both kind of know what they're doing with pizza. So between all of us, we're figuring it out together, and it makes it fun. Forno,
it's a learning curve for sure. You know,
Forno Piombo is the company.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
And I always accidentally say Porno Fiombo, so that's something different, I'm sure.
I have a little bit of PTSD because I grilled pizza on the Today Show, and like the culinary director had a total hard on for me to cook pizza on. I'm like, great. And at that time, if I'd had a manager or had a little bit more testicular fortitude, I'm not saying I have balls, but I mean, every woman has balls, right? In some way, I didn't have enough balls to stand up to them, but like trying to go cook pizza on a grill that you've never used before. Like, I don't even know what kind of grill this was. I was like, sure, I'll do it, you know, but like, it's, to your point, there is there's a learning curve to cooking pizza on any grill, really, you know, and like add the element of national television to that. So every time I get like a pizza gig, because I have like, my husband jokes, he'll be like, oh my God, you got pizza gigs. I remember one year we had like a pizza sponsor. It was like have you ever seen those inserts for like a Weber kettle? And it turns your Weber kettle into like a pizza oven, which is really cool. But like we had them as a sponsor for my barbecue team one year, and I swear I made so many pizzas. It's just so funny because I feel like everyone loves pizza, but it's funny because I'm lactose intolerant and gluten intolerant, and I'm like cursed to make pizza. Yeah. But we can all agree everyone loves pizza, and who doesn't, right?
Totally. So, and it sounds like they weren't setting you up to succeed. They were throwing you curveballs when they should have just let you shine at what you're great at, you know?
I'm the curveball queen, let me tell you. So just trying to adapt in a crazy world. What can I say, Dave?
I think we should play a game. I think the iguana, I think you're going to be the Iguana Queen, whether you like it or not. And so I think in 20 seconds, I think Bubba Gump style, we should name as many things you could make out of iguana between the two of us.
Okay.
You ready to try? I'll go first. You ready?
Yeah.
Iguana pizza.
Iguana tacos.
Iguana.
Wiki Watcha stew. Like iguana curry.
There you go. Iguana kebabs.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Iguana burger.
Iguana empanadas.
Ooh. Iguana omelet.
Ooh, yes. Iguana sausage could be good.
Hey. iguana steaks. Could you fillet a little steak off of it?
There's not a lot of meat, but you could, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. Iguana stir fry could be good.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
Iguana quesadilla.
Yes. You're like my West Coast twin, Dave. You really are. Iguana melts like on a panini.
Nice.
With a little cheese or something. Yeah. What about, I'm thinking would iguana quiche be weird? I've had quiche on the brain lately. I guess because I have chickens and I have all these eggs. I'm trying to figure out what to do with all the eggs.
I think once you've committed to make an iguana, you don't have to worry about getting weird with it.
We're already weird at this point, so it's fine. But actually the iguana stir fry, like an iguana fried rice could be very good.
I like it. Well, Robyn, you're awesome. Thanks for being on the podcast. I was so glad you were able to do it. And I hope we get together and cook soon. I'm coming to Florida. I don't know if I'll make it over to Fort Myers area, but I have a lot of dates in Florida over the next year anyways. So I'll probably have something that will come through there at some point. People can follow you at Grill Girl Robyn, and Robyn is spelled with a Y. And then grillgirl.com. And then is there anything else you want to plug? Any shout outs you need to give to sponsors and or events coming up or anything along those lines?
For any ladies, if you want to learn how to grill, or your, guys, if you would love for your sidekick to learn to grill with you, I will be doing a class in February. Just stay tuned for that. But yeah, no, Dave, it was so awesome to meet you. I would love to cook with you. Maybe I'll drive to the East Coast of Florida and we'll have a little meetup. We don't want to tire you out too much before your show, but I always go spend the night at Captain Ron's house, and maybe we can all cook together or something and do some collabs. That would be a blast.
I love it. Let's do it. So tire me
awesome.
out.
I will tell everyone my content's about to get very interesting because I am going on, this is so random, but I'm going on a trip to India in 2 weeks. And so my content's about to get a hot infusion of curry and spice. And I think it'll be really creatively, culinarily inspiring. So watch out for that and just watch my feed, because I think there will be some fun, interesting stuff to share with you guys. All
right. We're going to look out for it. Robyn's feed's about to get spicy, everybody.
Yes, it is.
All right, you're awesome, Robyn. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dave. It was really fun to do this.
Hell yeah.